What's going on, you guys? Slim here, finally back with a new video today. And today, you guys, that's right, I have my ban list prediction. You already knew it was coming. Everyone's starting to upload theirs, and I had to hop on it. Even though I haven't been playing a lot, I have been keeping an eye on the format. You guys know last time I did play was in Vegas for the 3v3. It was super awesome. Just been keeping an eye on the format and just really seeing what's to come of it. We already know fire dominated format. It's what was predicted before. It came to fruition. And what's cool about it too is that we've seen other decks like Voiceless Voice. We've seen some other random decks have success, but when it comes to the ban list itself, I honestly feel that it's going to be small. I think that if they are going to have one before Nats, they're going to do just some small things, put a couple things on the list, and I personally feel like they're not going to destroy fire. I know every player wants them to just cripple fire, but the cards are too new. They're definitely not going to address it completely. They might touch one or two cards for fire, but other than that, I think they're going to go after some other cards. And I honestly think if we do get a list before Nats, it'll be something small. I don't think it'll be super format warping, but I did want to get out my predictions, so hopefully you guys enjoy. Be sure to like and smash that like button, and yeah, we'll hop into it. So I really thought about what would be perfect for Forbidden, and I've seen a lot of good ban list predictions come out, so shout out to everyone that has released them, and shout out to my community tab for getting involved as well with some ideas to make the list a little more accurate. Things that I think that will get touched, though, if we are going to focus on cards that basically say you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh, if we take those away, we would start with the Sanctifier Dragon over the Gimmick Puppet itself. Since Gimmick Puppets are getting new support, I feel like there's no way they're going to actually hit the puppet itself. They're going to actually address it. For branded, they would hit the Sanctifier Dragon. This card is crazy. Not only is it able to bring out the Gimmick Puppet for the lock, it actually has been able to start summoning Jowgen as well, which is pretty nuts. Have seen that, and that is pretty crazy. So I think that if they do want to actually cripple, not really cripple, but take away one of the main win cons and one of the you can't play cards, this would be the best way to do it. It's a touch to branded, it's a touch to Voiceless Voice that play the branded package in there, so there are a couple things you can do with that. So I think that they hit the Sanctifier Dragon, that would actually take care of things as far as that goes. And then along the same train, I do have King Calamity. Now I know that this only comes out with Centurion, but it's still a card that literally says you can't play. You literally pass your turn and you get OTK'd the next turn. So this card is pretty crazy. This was something we had wanted to get touched, I believe, last list, and it's still here. Now, while Centurion's not having a ton of success, they are seeing some tops here and there, and this card is pretty crazy. So being able to take it out of the format would also be probably most beneficial, especially if we're trying to take away cards that say you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh. And these last two cards, these are something that multiple players, including myself, have mentioned for ban list prediction after ban list prediction, and it hasn't happened, but we're still going to try again, and that's Shifter and Featherstorm. Now I know they're both played in Flunderies, but these cards just in general are crazy. Shifter literally is just a turn skip, and then Featherstorm, same thing, turn skip. The thing about Featherstorm, though, that is pretty crazy is there is no counterplay to this unless you literally somehow are going first, set Solemn Judgment, and I don't know, literally they flip this on you next turn and you judgment it. But without Red Reboot in the format, you literally cannot counter this card. This card is crazy. Literally Flu being able to thrust into it is nuts too. So I think take away this card, and that'll at least take away a card that says you can't play. And same thing with Shifter. I know a lot of people have been wanting this card to go for a while. I'm a person that's played this card and played against this card, and I can definitely say, being on both ends, this card is really unfair. Now granted, it is dead, post, if you don't open it most of the time, but it's just so powerful that I think it's something that they do need to finally address. These cards that just say you can't play just probably shouldn't be in the format, so try to be a little more fair this time, take away things that really just, hinder what Yu-Gi-Oh is all about. So those are really just my forbiddens. Now I'm gonna be honest, I only think these first two will happen. I sadly don't think they will address Shifter and Featherstorm to that extent, but I still want to put them up here because, again, it is a prediction. This would be something, a prediction and a wish list. I would want Shifter and Featherstorm to go. And then on to the limited. Now, again, I did say I don't think they're going to address fire that much. Looking at all the possible options, the only thing I could come up with is Snake Eye Ash to 1. I don't think they're going to hit any of the new cards. Again, they're too new. They're also something that I don't think the player base that did spend all the money into the deck would want to see. I think it could be something that could be really bad, just on business, for business purposes. All those cards are so expensive. The Wanted package, the Bonfires, all the cards that have come out. Literally with Snake Eye Ash, putting it to 1, the deck can still play, and you'd be able to, as far as looking at, this card is not even really anything. I think it's just a super rare. Do I really think this will happen? Realistically, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't touch fire at all, like if they leave everything, even Snake Eye Ash at 3, again, because the deck is so new, and going into Nats, I think it's still going to probably be the best deck if a list doesn't address it. But I honestly think they're not going to do anything too crazy to fire, and this is like one of the only things that everyone like pretty much unanimously agreed on is touch this to 1, it'll slow down the deck, and then you'll have other means to get into your starters. So this was the only thing I could think of for the fire deck, because again, I personally don't think they're going to touch it, unfortunately. But again, it's because it's a new deck, it's because they want to make their money off of it, they're still going to make their money off of it. And again, just for the format, I think that unfortunately it's still going to be Year of the Fire. It's going to continue on through Nats, but post Nats I'll probably see the deck get butchered. But for now, I think they're going to just leave the deck pretty much to itself, and then if anything happens, maybe Snake Eye Ash to 1. Now for the rest of this, these are cards that I feel like can come, the one card that can come back to 1, definitely Title. All the Dragon Rulers are back. This is the last one. Now granted, this does have a Foolish Burial effect. It is pretty crazy, but honestly, the Dragon Rulers are just not that strong. They're not what they used to be. It's been 11 years, which is crazy to say, since we played Dragon Rulers, and yeah, even with them back now, even with 3 out of the 4 back, they have done absolutely nothing, and I honestly don't think they will. Even, bringing Title back is still not going to change anything. People might try out a random version of Dragon Rulers, but it's just so weak in comparison to the decks of these days. 11 years ago, this deck was crazy, now just not so much. So I honestly think bring back Title. I don't think it'll really make a difference. And then I did want to take a page out of what they did in the last list. They did touch all the Floodgates, the Rivalry, the Tikaboo, and the Gozen match. These were the 3 Floodgates that didn't get addressed: Anti-Spell, Summon Limit, and Skill Drain. Now the first 2 are definitely more problematic in this format specifically, because these are cards you definitely do see post game 1. These cards are crazy. Literally, Anti-Spell is like an auto win, Summon Limit, same thing too. So these are cards that I feel like they would put to 1 if they are going with the same trend of putting all the Floodgates to 1. And then I did throw Skill Drain in here. Now while Skill Drain is a crazy Floodgate, turning off effects, it's actually like something that is, out of the 3, it's still the weakest, which is crazy to say. Like, Skill Drain is great, for what it does, in the sense that, yeah, it's a Floodgate, but it's actually just not that strong. Like, players have found ways to play around it multiple times, and it is something that, unlike Anti-Spell, unlike Summon Limit, I feel like it's not seeing a lot of play. Like, you only really see it in like stun decks and like anti-meta strategies, but honestly, it's just not a card that you see that much. However, I think if they do want to keep up with the one of Floodgates, I think this would be the thing that they would do, and then all the Floodgates would be at 1. I still think that's kind of weird, because then if you are siding them, like, you do have all these random one-ofs in your side deck, or if your deck is able to main them. So I'm not really sure if that's something that'll happen, but I wanted to be fair and still throw Skill Drain in there. Again, while it's not seeing that much play, it is something that, to keep everything fair with the Floodgates getting hit, it's something that we would want to address. So that's what I have for the limited. And now semi-limited, I've said it multiple times, I'm not a huge fan of putting cards to 2. What I feel like this section is for, though, is kind of like a testing ground. Like, it's definitely something that they might see, like, what'll happen if they put a card from 3 to 2, and then if they bring a card back to 2. So that's what I did. So the first one I put for semi-limit, I put Pot of Prosperity. Reason for this is this card is pretty crazy. I think it was last list, maybe even the list before, I know we were all pushing for this card to even go to 1. Some players even wanted this card banned. This card is pretty crazy. Being able to see go 6 cards deep looking for an answer is nuts. I feel like what they would do is possibly put it to 2 and then just see if that makes a difference in the format, like if it's still a card that needs to go to 1 or anything like that. I know it's a weird place to put this, but it's definitely something that I could see happening. A lot of the times cards get semi-limited, it's really random, and it's a lot of times, again, a testing ground. So I think that Prosperity would be something that maybe they'd try it 2 and then just see if it needs to go to 1 and then ban. Like, we don't really know, but it'd be interesting to see. So I did want to put that in semi-limited, because I don't see it automatically going to 1. I don't see it automatically getting banned, but I could see them putting it to 2, I guess, just for consistency purposes. And then I did bring back Unchained Soul of Shavara from 1 to 2. Shout out to Cody Manabe being able to, win a regional with Unchained, even with 1 Shavara. I think that putting this to 2 would be fine, though. The deck is just not seeing a lot of play. He was like the outlier for that, even just playing the 1 copy, since it was at 1. And I feel like even if you bring it to 2, I don't think we're really going to see, an uptick in that deck, or even if we do, like, the deck, is still going to struggle against fire and some of the other decks in the format. So I think bringing it to 2, just again, a testing ground to see if it can be brought back to 2. It's pretty crazy how Unchained went from a crazy rogue deck all the way to like tier 1 and then all the way back down on the lower tier in the matter of like a format. It was pretty nuts. So yeah, the only other card I would put to semi-limited again is this, just to test it out and see what happens. Then to the unlimited, these are cards that literally can just come back. Pankratops would just be awesome to have back at 3. What's crazy and sad to say at the same time is even though this card is currently at 2, it's not seeing a ton of play in the side deck. It is a card that, you know, I think, you know, definitely can come back to 3 and then it's just be something that you can, you know, try again. I think like it's format dependent, like how effective it is. It's such a great card. It's such a well-designed card. I just really wish, you know, this card would come back to 3 and that it would be a format where it would actually be pretty optimal. So maybe that'll be something in the future. So that's why I want that card back at 3. Shout out to the Orcus players. I'm not one of them, but shout out to you guys. Harpor can come back to 3. Sadly, Orcus hasn't really done anything. I know when Harpor came back to 1, everyone was trying like Orcus Runic, which was pretty cool for a little bit, but as you guys saw, it kind of died out. Even at 3 in the OCG, the deck doesn't do anything. Sadly, even with Gearsu, even with all, you know, even with everything, it doesn't do anything. So I feel like you could bring it back to 3, and yeah, you'd get some Orcus players playing again, which I think would be cool. But I don't think it would like absolutely terrorize the format. So I think bringing it back to 3 would be fine. Same thing with Terratop. This card's been at 3. What I think an OCG or some other players been at 3, and I mean it's not going to make a huge splash. Like it's not as strong as it used to be back in the day when this was like a staple in pretty much every deck because you were just making, you know, your Dantes and everything. But I think that, you know, time has passed. I think Terratop can definitely come back to 3, and I don't think it's going to warp the format. Ancient Fairy got the errata, so yeah, it got the errata, so yeah, 3 and 1, there's like no difference. So literally bring this back. And same thing with Time Seal. This card's old as I am and as old as anything. Like literally this card does nothing to trap. It's slow. Like it's just something that's you're probably never going to see anyone play. It's just a card that I threw in there as another unlimited card because it definitely can come back to 3. And honestly, I think if it came back to 3, I think most people wouldn't even notice. Kind of like Yada. Like there was so much hype when Yada came back to 3, and that card has not seen any play whatsoever. So bring Time Seal back to 3, and yeah, it won't make any difference. And then of course my wish list, every single ban list, is to have Colossus back to 1. Don't think it'll happen, but you know, they brought Harpor back, so maybe they'll bring one Colossus back. That'd be kind of cool. There is talk of toss format, so even if you're not able to bring Colossus back in this format, you could play it in toss format. So that'll be pretty cool if that does become a more like regular side event. I think it's definitely something I would try out as well because I just love my Thunder deck and I would love to play it again. But that's all I got for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think of my thoughts. I'm sure I missed plenty of cards. Definitely mention them in the comment section below. Let you guys know what you think of my prediction. We'll see how accurate I am whenever the list does drop. I think it's a pretty generic, you know, approach to the prediction though this time around. I really think that, you know, sadly, again, they're not going to address fire as much as players think, but they'll hit possibly some of these cards up on the screen, and then we'll see if the format does change at all, or if we could be completely wrong and maybe they just come in with an axe and just destroy everything. But honestly, never know. I think this is one of the few times with the ban list coming that we really just don't know what to expect, except that I really don't think they'll hit fire that much, but we'll see what happens when it finally drops. But that's all I got for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video.